1st, and one is All Saints Day, and one is All Souls Day, right? So I don't know if a few years ago you guys remember when we had all that big blizzard and snows and all that. So I came up with a poem about that, about my mother dying and how we used to walk through the park in Wayanda. So after she died, she became part of the lake, the trail we used to hike before she got sick. Her eyes were flinty bits of mica stone. How we climbed and searched that first year, jabbing our sticks into rock walls, watching for creatures to come out. She never believed like I did, yet the others moaned that my instincts were right. Was the mouse, nose alert to the coming winter, part of her now? Her arms, writhing snakes, Medusa hair, blackness where her breasts used to be, genitals smooth bark brown, moss and stone, and the relentless flapping birds. Now my hands throb warm as I peel an apple found just past the gnarled nose of tree. Who would guess that on this Samhain eve we would get a snowfall of 7 inches? Who would know that her eyelashes would open and close like the last vagrant heron's wings, snow tipping its feathers whiter? By morning she melts like a bad witch, turning the leaves slick, berries sodden. Okay. I went through a time where I was writing a lot of different poems about William Shakespeare. I always try to get different clues from different things. And so I went through times where I was doing Shakespeare things and different Odysseus, different myths. So I got this one because I was thinking about King Lear, and I don't know if anyone knows the story of King Lear and his daughters, and how he gives away the property to his daughters. They have to declare that he's, their favorite father. And so I thought of him unemployed and close to the end of his reign. And so I called it Lear signs on the dole. I observe him holding court in the waiting room, or trying to, curved and defiant as a sickle. I ask him for his resume. He clears his throat and tells me that once he ruled the world. He insists his house in those days was larger than a double wide, but just lately he's been down on his luck. I've heard it all before. As unkempt as a sea monster, Mr. Lear's hair is all light and twisted, and his flip-flops have seen better days. He removes his crown. It perches on his knee like a tarnished canary. Why does he want to work at his age? He cannot drive. His eyesight fails. My daughters are big shots in real estate, top dogs at Century 21 and Caldwell banker, and both know what I have been. But what is it he brings to the table? A leg of venison, he stutters. A serpent's tooth, unbroken. Mr. Lear creaks like a fury about to erupt. My youngest will tell you what business I have done. We have nothing for him. I stamp his paperwork. As he leaves, he slyly doffs his crown and asks me if I'd like to take lunch with him. He is older than God, and I have 3 more to see before quitting time. The next one is waiting. Mr. Lear, unadorned, draws his pension in the ring. I'm going to do another myth kind of thing that the students requested. And it's about Odysseus, and I hope somebody looked up to see what that was about. Okay. So Odysseus goes off, right, to seas famously, and his wife is very loyal to him and stays behind in this knitting a shroud, but she never finishes it because she's expecting him to come back, and it has to do with the suitors wanted her to finish the shroud, but she never does. This is after Robert Hass, The Envy of Poets. In one legend, Odysseus filled a bottle with song, wrote poems on snippets of paper, then took the sun-drenched glass and sealed the top with cork. Unopened molten music rose and settled to the bottom. When he tossed this vessel of disclosure, words he had withheld from his wife, he soothed himself, lashed as he was to the mast, with the lullabies of birdsong, gulls, and terns echoing against the wind-swept cliffs. It was a myth that sirens couldn't speak. Jealous sailors wavered back and forth on muteness, A woman unable to give voice for months at a time on a journey might be thought a blessing by some. And so Odysseus was relieved of his burden of words, replaced as it was with longing, a hunger for a glimpse of his faithful wife and her sacred chanting. As she turned sweet cod to make it hum sizzle on a skillet's black tongue, sirens lounged on the rocks, plaiting each other's hair, snatched his bottle, bobbing in the weaves, to unleash all those pent-up words he had pushed down to the bottom. Then seeing him in his cobweb trance, greeted him back with his own words back. You are my precious pearl, my doe-skin scalloped purse. Thus they repeated until, distracted by the steady silver bells of rain, they swam to a cave to take cover, lest they waste their music on a storm, and not an envious traveler who couldn't be tempted into madness, into poetry. I wanted to read a couple of faith-inspired poems. I gotta get to them. Okay, so this one is from the new book and the Gertrude Stein book, so it's not in here. But it was having to do with Mary and Venus, the statue missing her arms. So it's called Venus and Mary. It's easy to say without her arms she is tormented, just like the maids who have no legs, but what have they exchanged love for? What virtue has been denied? The hole beneath her breast is the same wound that the beggar Mary has, eyes fevered with Jesus. I met her once, years ago, in the streets of Jerusalem. Mary, like Venus, is beautiful, even with her broken nose, her peasant's legs. Despite the fact there are no fingers to worry the scars that God has left, the loss was always just below the longing. I suspect mermaids and spirits have this in common. Tears pour down their cheeks, one marble, one flesh. You might say a marble flower cannot spring up from the sea like a wild coral bird. Still, every woman has her own story. Mary, Venus, even the absent arms are white as clouds. They are unable to take a man to their breast, to pat them, to say they're there. The ghost of the sound of waves lapping on marble skin, the sound of a bell in a decaying ark. Inside them, all women carry the sea. And here's another one. Tetramiros. When Lazarus, after he was raised from the dead, the legend says he went to Cyprus and lived out the rest of his life, right? So outside his tomb is Tetramiros, is the sign. It says friend of Jesus. And I think Tetramiros means 3 days, right? He rose after 3 days. I follow him to Cyprus to grow us a garden of poppies, scarlet like spilled blood. At first he treats me badly, shoos me away like a chicken. I ignore his protests, bring him plates of sweet carp, my nails dirty and broken from digging black soil. Finally, after 2 years of silence, those side looks when he walks into town, death a robe he can't completely shake, we speak. I show him the garden fully bloomed, blood scattered everywhere. Dragonflies mate, jewel upon jewel, sapphires and emeralds, tourmaline wings. They hover above the feast of flowers. We mourn Mary's boy, each in our own way. Aphrodite's island brings out our best. Night after night I pour wine and break bread, serve a man busy becoming a saint. The table we eat from wobbles with its crooked leg. How we want our carpenter back to steady it like he steadies us. His lessons make the stars shiver. The trees long for transformation into something better.